Good evening. I want to call to order this meeting of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners. Welcome. We're happy to have y'all here with us tonight. We are going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Police Chief Bill Carter.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Our invocation tonight from the Wendell Council of Churches, we're going to hear from Wallace Johnson of the Wendell United Methodist Church.
Hey,
Good evening.
Hey, Mayor Gray, thanks for letting us have the opportunity to speak. Y'all remember we're doing our annual food drive. We're going to be passing out bags. If you live in town, you'll see a little brown bag show up on your doorstep on October 23rd. If you want to fill that bag up, we'll come around and pick it up on October 30th. And that'll be divided up within the food distribution areas here in town. So we've not done it for a year and a half now, so we'll be glad to get back to that. The local churches are doing the best they can. We're rocking and rolling and rolling with the punches, right? So y'all pray for us. We pray at our church. We pray for y'all regularly. But let's pray this evening. Heavenly Father, for the day we give you all of the thanks and praise for all of the interactions, for all of the conversations, for all of the joy, all of the frustration of the day. We offer it up to you so that we can be present in this moment, so that we can go about the work of Wendell. We thank you for this sweet, wonderful place that so many call home, that I'm personally very privileged to call home. We pray for Mayor Gray and all of our commissioners as they lead us well. Might they look to you for wisdom, and might you offer us grace in the journey. And it's through your Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I covet your prayers. Thank you so much. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I have two, Madam Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Would like to add one item to the consent agenda. Task Order 15, Master Agreement for on-call professional services as requested by staff.
Mm-hmm.
And a discussion on coronavirus trends and statistics be placed at item 7B.
Right, okay.
Discussion.
So to approve with the addition of those two items?
Yes, motion to approve with those two items.
Okay, we have a motion to approve with the addition of those two items. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public comment period tonight. Public comment process is provided tonight either in person or in advance of the meeting. The public had the opportunity to submit written comments, or were able to submit a request to participate via calling in the conference, or were able to speak here in person. As always, you have 3 minutes to speak, and we have one person signed up tonight, Miss Angela Taylor. Hurry up, my 3 minutes. We don't start until you get up there.
Good.
Give me your name, say your name and address for me, please.
My name is Angela Taylor, and I live at 6408 Taylor Road in Wendell. Just coincidental that I'm a Taylor living on Taylor Road. 20-some years ago, it was a dirt road, dead-end road. Now it's this humongous development. The speed limit at the old section of Taylor Road is 35. The new section that we run into, I guess, would be 25. We've got dump trucks loaded. We've got people using our road now as a cut-through to avoid the stoplight at the parkway of Wendell Falls. And we've got 18-wheelers, and they're just going, well, with it being 35, they're going 45. And it's entirely way too fast. The workers are out on the roads working to get everything done, to get these 4,000 homes, these 3 big buildings of apartments, and we've got a school now on our road. And the cars, especially these parents flying their children to school in the mornings, they are going like 50 on our road. We've got kids walking to the school. We've got people walking their dogs. And we've got construction people in the road. They do not slow down. Even the construction people have complained about almost getting hit. And it's just entirely too fast. We would pursue the fact that if we could get speed bumps is what we would really love, but if we can get the speed limit reduced from 35 to 25, then we figure maybe they might go 35 instead of 45. You know, with it being a cut-through road now to avoid the stoplight, they're just flying through there, and the more development that comes with the Publix and all the apartments, and then across from me is another 450 homes, and the 4,000 that have already got there, it's gotten totally out of hand, and everybody's confused on the old road, the old sign that says 35, and then the new section that says 25.
Thank you. We don't usually do give and take on these kind of situations, but can the manager find out about the inconsistency on that road? Is it even in our jurisdiction completely yet? And has Wendell taken over that road yet? There's a lot of things to consider, but can y'all look into that and let's take a look about, I don't like the inconsistency on there, so.
I
Yeah.
just have one thing. Half the road is maintained city and half of it's maintained.
That's what I was referring to, so that's gonna create some unusual situation, but we're gonna look into it, okay?
Right.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Item number 4 is recognitions, reports, and presentations, and item 4A is the introduction of new police employees by Police Chief Bill Carter. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the board. Get our agenda caught up here. So what I'd like to do this evening, obviously the pandemic and the limitations placed on our staff over the last year has made it all but impractical to introduce our new employees. We've had a number of folks come on this year, so we'd like to spend a few minutes and bring each of them in before you and just introduce them and give you a little bit of background on them. First one is Officer Eugene Hunt. Officer Hunt, Eugene Hunt, grew up here in Wendell. He graduated from Eastwick High School and went on to obtain a BS in psychology and a BA in religion from Barton College in Wilson. Seeking a career in law enforcement, Eugene met with us to discuss career options. This led to us actually sponsoring Eugene as he went through the basic law enforcement training program at Coastal Plains Law Enforcement in Wilson. He was sworn in on March 9th of last year and is currently assigned to our patrol division. Officer Hunt?
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the opportunity to serve this community.
We're happy to have you. It's not in my nature to embarrass people, but I think Officer Hunt has played in my backyard many, many years ago.
Mayor, I would say there's a high likelihood that might be the case.
I'm pretty sure he has.
All right, next up is Officer Greg Modis. Officer Greg Modis is also a resident of Wendell and has lived here for slightly more than a year and a half with his family. He's a graduate of Ferris State University in Big Rapids, Michigan, where he received a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice. Greg was introduced to the Wendell Police Department at a community outreach event and became more interested in what Wendell is all about and what the police department had to offer. After 9 years as a police officer with the Raleigh Police Department, he decided it was time for a move. So Greg joined us and was sworn in on December 21st, 2020, and is currently assigned to our patrol division. Greg.
Madam Mayor, members of the board, town manager, and town staff, thanks for this opportunity. Appreciate it. Look forward to working with all of you.
We're happy to have you. Welcome.
Thank you.
You and your family.
Next up is Officer Joshua Harper. Officer Joshua Harper is currently a resident of Holly Springs, although I will tell you he's looking in this area when the opportunity presents itself, and has lived in Wake County for over 6 years. Joshua is a native of Nash County and is a graduate of Nash Community College in Rocky Mount, where he received an associate degree in criminal justice. He completed basic law enforcement training at Cape Fear Community College in Wilmington, North Carolina. Joshua began his law enforcement career with the Crabtree Valley Mall Police. After 2 years there, he moved on and became employed with Wake Med's Police Department, which provides full police services to all the Wake Med properties. After almost 3 years there, he was looking for an opportunity to engage in more traditional law enforcement and applied with the Wendell Police Department. Joshua was sworn in on July 19th, 2021, and is currently assigned to our field training program. Joshua.
Thank you all for the opportunity. I look forward to serving Wendell.
Thank you. Welcome. We're happy to have you.
Excuse me. All right. Excuse me. No wind and the papers get out of order, right? All right. Officer Alvin Gashi. Officer Alvin Gashi, also known as Ben, is a resident of Wendell and has lived here for a little more than 1 year. He's a graduate of Fayetteville Technical Community College in Fayetteville, North Carolina. He recently completed his basic law enforcement training at Coastal Plains Community College in Wilson, North Carolina. Ben has spent much of his life, adult life, in mechanical trades, including welding and heavy equipment operation, and even supervised large groups to meet deadlines, work as a team, and to adhere to safety guidelines. A couple of years ago, and I quote Ben, he wanted to do something with my life that I felt was making a positive impact. That led to his interest in law enforcement. And Ben set out on a path to meet the requirements to enter the career. Ben was sworn in on July 26, 2021, and is currently in our field training program. Ben?
I do want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be able to protect and serve the community of Wendell, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Welcome. We're happy to have you.
And that concludes the introduction of our new staff at this time. We will be back
Thank
with
you.
some more. Thank you very much. And on behalf of those officers, thank you for your support.
Thank you. All right, item 4B is the July 4th event options, and we're going to hear from Parks and Rec Director Jeff Pulaski. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight, what I'll be seeking is direction on which way we want to start moving with our July event. We were made aware that the Historical Society had decided that they were no longer going to plan the 4th of July parade for the town. And so staff has taken it upon them to give the board some kind of different options to see kind of which way you want us to steer this event in July. Okay. And you'll notice in all of these, there is a price range in these. It's, you know, some of them are going to be entry level, some of them are going to be kind of the Cadillac of a program, for lack of a better term. But the first one we have is doing something similar to what we've done in the past, is having a kids parade. And most of these options you'll see, we can kind of interchange a lot of these and put certain things with them. But we were thinking maybe putting a craft market included with that, with some live music. Cost being around $3,000 to $4,000, being cost of probably having a live band. We did get to thinking about this one though, and having a craft market is right in our farmers market time period. So a craft market may not be in the best benefit for a July 4th event. Like this current year, coming up July, it's on a Monday, so we would have a farmers market that Saturday. But the pros of this event, it would be continuing the tradition that is known to Wendell on having that parade on the 4th and having low cost. The cons of that would be it does require a significant amount of staff, multiple road closures, which may cause downtown congestion, and is geared towards younger families and may not be interesting to all residents of Wendell. And also something that else that isn't noticed on here is if you've helped organize the parade in the past, the kids get really hot out there. There is a lot of complaining. They really just want to kind of do it and get out of there. But those are all things to consider for that event. The second event would be something similar to what we had this year, which would be something like a picnic in the park. This event would be like food trucks, live music, lawn games, bouncy houses, some kind of water features. Oh, I'm sorry. Some kind of water features to have at the park to help keep them cool. The pros towards this one would be geared towards all residents. It would be low impact to the town, because there would be no road closures. The park is used to hosting events this size. Parking is there, all the facilities are already there. And this format allows for people to kind of come and go as they want to, which does help participation numbers. And the cons of this one would be it is weather impacted, being an outdoor event. But the event this past year we thought was very successful for a first-year event that we kind of really put together with about a month of time. But it was a really nice event. Another event would be like a Meet on Main, similar type event with having a band and beer on Main Street. You know, my first thought was maybe seeking out the Meet on Main group and seeing if this is something we could bring them in on doing, and that way it would help, you know, partner between us and that group. Cost being somewhere between $7,000 and $9,000 on that. The pros is it encourages visitors to come to downtown. You're talking about a larger scale event. It's likely to be popular, as similar events in the past have been. The cons of this one would be a significant staff support, especially due to alcohol being served. Similar to other already established events, it is very similar, especially we do have Meet on Main already. And multiple street closures, which once again does cause congestion near downtown. Of course, the last option, I had to throw it in there because it's kind of one of the things that you always know and you associate the 4th of July with is having a fireworks display. I was in charge of the fireworks display in Farmville, so I am familiar with kind of what it takes to put on a show like this, and it is a lot of work. It is very expensive, but the pros of this event being that they're very popular. It's going to draw regionally. It will require very little staff support, once again, being down at the park, which is used to hosting larger events. And, you know, there will be some traffic issues, but those are things that we can kind of work with. The cons being the logistics of having it so close to a significant portion of the park. Would require some street closures, the amount of foot traffic at the park, and just creating viewing opportunities. We would, just knowing what the regulations in Pitt County were, I'm not familiar with Wake County, you do have to have a certain radius around a firing area, which will limit how close people could be at Wendell Park to the firing show. Because I think people, if they wanted to sit like at the square, I'm not exactly sure if they would be able to see it from the park. So those are all things that we would have to consider. And there's a significant amount of cleanup for a 4th of July event. The fireworks do leave a large mess on the ground that most people don't think about once they leave the show. It's dark, but there is a huge amount of trash that is left over from fireworks being shot. And also not mentioned on here is you probably aren't going to get an event on the 4th. If you notice, a lot of smaller towns shoot smaller shows, don't get those shows on the 4th, and it's simply because they can't afford larger shows, and there's not enough people that are certified to fire those shows. So the people that want to shoot the shows want to go to the bigger shows to make more money. So lots of times you have to shoot them on the 3rd or the 2nd or the 5th. So there is that aspect of it as well. It wouldn't be a true 4th of July firing. So those are kind of some of the things that we came up with, which were all kind of ideas from the basic all the way up to, you know, shooting a 4th of July fireworks show. Something else to consider on the 4th on a fireworks show is Zebulon does shoot a show, and so does Knightdale. You know, where does Wendell kind of fit into that also? They're very expensive, but they do definitely have that wow factor of having a true 4th of July fireworks. So staff is kind of looking for an idea of where do we want to steer this July?
Direction.
And
All right.
I'm sorry, one more thing, to clarify that, like a fireworks display might not be on the 4th, so you might have a combination of a fireworks display on one day and then a family picnic in the park on the 4th. There's nothing that says you can't do two with those prices, all within range.
And that's what I'm saying. Any of these can be molded together. There's no reason we couldn't do a band on Main Street and still do a fireworks show. These are just kind of all the options that are out there.
Anybody? Well, I thought the music, I thought that what y'all did this year was great. It was, and I really appreciated it, and I think a lot of people really enjoyed it. We're very appreciative to have something to go to. I've been to the one that we've had for many, many, many years, and it's fun and it's really cute, but it's really hot, and every year there's a challenge about where to put the children to line up, where to put them, where to start, how to keep them cool, who's got tents. I mean, it's very challenging to do that, but it is, a tradition we've had. Far as the thing on Main Street, the Meet on Main people have you can talk to them, but they have avoided the hot summer months because it's hot.
It is.
So, I don't know. I don't know, you know, it's hot. And a lot of people don't want to stand out in the middle of the asphalt in the hot. So, I don't know. Do y'all have some opinions? I like the fireworks. I said that 3 weeks ago. I was like, let's do fireworks. So, anybody?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts, Jeff. I like the parade. I think it's always a good time. I think it creates a very family-friendly atmosphere, which is fun. It allows for people with kids on bikes, people in golf carts. It allows a certain patronages to legions and veterans groups too. One thought I always had, and as a dad who stood out there in the 11 o'clock sunshine where it's nice and warm, did you guys discuss at all about doing anything more towards the afternoon, evening time?
We did. We were just really kind of given options to kind of see what the board was wanting to do, because we haven't normally done a July event at all. That's kind of one of it's in between our spring and fall sports. And the Historical Society always kind of had that event there, so we really haven't really done anything for that month.
So you maybe would like to see the parade, but maybe later in the day?
Yeah, it was just a thought too. I know at least as my family was always, I felt we got up so early in the day and we got to this parade and then we got done with the parade and then it was like, all right, what do you have to do the rest of the day?
It's like running a race.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Even the idea of being able to get up, you know, do some things more during the day, take our time a little bit, and then having some things towards the evening time, afternoon time.
Yes, sir.
Just another thought I have. I wasn't quite as big on the band and the beer. As much fun as that sounds, I think that I like to keep it much more family friendly on those days, and I feel like we have quite a few events with Meet on Main and other things that I think fill that particular niche or void. Not that music's, you know, out or anything. I just feel like something along those exact guidelines would be a little too much.
That saves on town staff as well, because it is a holiday. So.
Absolutely.
I like to see, I like also the parade with the children and all is good, and then have it later in the day, like you say, and then have the fireworks after, so keep everyone downtown for the afternoon.
The two things that I've heard the most since I've been here, the parade for the kids has grown.
Yeah.
Each year. You know, sometimes you do things and maybe it's 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, and it kind of fizzles out. The parade grew every year. Participation, people, I'll disagree with you slightly on the age groups because there are tons of older folks that come out and check the parade out. There were a lot of people disappointed. Everybody understood, but they were disappointed that there was no parade. Fireworks, always a big thing, but honestly, if Knightdale and Zebulon are doing them on the 4th, and we're trying to do it some other day, if we're gonna do it, let's do it. I have concerns about where we would watch them from if we're trying to shoot them off from, you know, community center area. You know, ideally, if we could see them from downtown, parade, you know, kids could put lights, glow sticks, that kind of thing on their bike, just kind of roll into fireworks. But, you know, maybe that's wishful thinking on my part, but, two things I hear about parade, fireworks.
Yeah, I like the nighttime parade. I think that'd be fun. So, and that way, as well, you don't have the challenge of the heat in the day and the children, because it is problematic. We had a couple kids get sick.
Yeah.
A couple times, because it's very hot out there.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have anything?
Nighttime parade.
Nighttime parade, all right. Commissioner Joyner, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm just gonna go ahead and start buying lights for my golf cart.
One of the things we were thinking with fireworks is closing the park and having people park downtown. If you've been to a lot of fireworks shows, you do typically have to walk to them. So not having anybody actually driving into the park would be a thought. So that way cars wouldn't be taking up a lot of space. You could get a lot of people in the park, but they're gonna have a tough time finding somewhere to park their cars and then walk there. That's kind of would be you know, the biggest issue there.
I don't think people will like that.
No.
I'll tell
I
you,
think-
I'll direct them to you.
I think ingress, egress of the park with just traffic would be just a nightmare as well.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know about the walking, I think.
Well, I mean,
What-
driving, I think walking would be better if we did anything.
Gather some information about where our shooting
So,
options
yeah, I
are.
was gonna say,
Because
investigate
there's a
some
lot we don't
fireworks
know.
locations.
And
So
let's find out what
if
we
we
can
had
do.
a downtown parade and we're able to locate a downtown someplace that's visible from the downtown area for fireworks shooting off, then that would be preferable. That's what we're hearing.
Yeah, or Plan B if we can't. Just get some options. Is that good with everybody?
Hmm?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, section 5 is our public hearings. In furtherance of our public hearings tonight, the public comment process has been provided either in person or in advance of the meeting. The public had the opportunity to submit written comments to the town clerk. We're able to submit a request to participate via calling in the conference, or they can speak in person here tonight. And for a public hearing, you have 5 minutes. Item 5A is a public hearing for the bank loan solicitation for the town hall debt issuance. And we're going to hear from Finance Director Butch Kay. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the board. Finance has a public hearing.
That's crazy.
I'm sorry, but I'm kind of excited about it, so we don't get to do these very often.
Garrett
So,
got a haircut.
Exactly, Garrett got a haircut
Big
for
day.
it. So it's a big day. Yeah, exactly. So the public hearing again is for the bank loan in the amount of $11,300,170. This is being used to fund several projects, which consist of Town Hall, $7,629,600, Landing View Drive, $488,592, the Neighborhood Improvement Project, specifically Zone 1, $742,500, the purchase of land for future police station, $1,089,610, and the construction of Hollybrook Park for $1,349,868. The town followed the general statutes for the formal bidding process by advertising in the newspaper. We did that with Wake Weekly on July 30th. We also posted on the town's website. The proposals requested that banks provide interest rates for both 20-year and 15-year terms. Sealed bids were received and opened on August 17th here at Town Hall in the boardroom. The town received 5 bids. You have the bid tabulation in your agenda packet of those 5 bidders. The apparent low bidder was Truist Bank with an interest rate of 1.90% for 15-year term. By selecting the 15-year term versus the 20-year term, it not only gives a lower interest rate, but it also shortens the pay period of 5 years less, and it also saves the town in excess of $1,190,350 in interest.
All right. Are there any questions from the board? Open the public hearing. Would anybody like to speak? Any citizens have comments they'd like to make? Any questions from the board? Everybody's quiet tonight. All right, we'll close the public hearing, and what's y'all's pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Yep.
Motion to approve the lowest apparent bidder for the request for proposals for bank loan proposals.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to approve the lowest bidder in the list of proposals. And is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Yes.
And to approve the resolution.
And to approve the resolution.
Yep. And to approve, okay. To state your motion again.
Motion to approve the lowest apparent bidder from the request for proposals of the bank loan proposals, and to approve the attached resolution.
So we have a motion to approve the lowest bidder and to approve the attached resolution. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank y'all. Item 5B is a public hearing for a non-contiguous annexation for a parcel totaling 88.07 acres for PIN number 1784299215, located at 2909 North Carolina Highway 97. We're going to hear from Planning Director Brian Coates.
Yep.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The first public hearing tonight from the Planning Department is a public hearing for a non-contiguous annexation of parcel totaling 88.07 acres located at 2909 NC Highway 97. The request is for you to hold the public hearing and consider adopting the attached ordinance. David Bergmark, on behalf of Sandra Driver, the property owner, has submitted annexation request for the parcel totaling 88.07 acres. The applicant has submitted a residential 4 conditional district rezoning petition to the town of Wendell. The property is currently located in the town of Wendell's urban service area and is within 3 miles of our town's core annexation area. The attached map, you can see here, the 88.07 acres kind of bridges the gap between our current ETJ and NC 97 is up here at the north. Property is currently located in Wake County's jurisdiction, is zoned R residential 20, R20, and residential 40. Those are zoning districts that are half acre or acre lots in size. The proposed annexation would require services from the town's police, public works, parks, and rec departments if annexed and developed. Secondary service impacts will be incurred by other town departments that support the operations of the town. The property is already served by the local fire district. Water and sewer are readily available to the property. This is an area you can see on this map. There's some subdivisions that are not in our city limits that are receiving utilities, so sewer and water are relatively close by. The area is to be served by City of Raleigh utilities. Specific impacts are dependent on the use, density, and design of the development and subject to approvals for utility allocations and land use. I can field any questions you may have at this time.
Okay, are there any questions from the board? All right, let's open the public hearing and hear from the applicant. Good evening, Mr. Bergmark. It's nice to see you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the board. Good to see you in person again. Brian gave a good summary of this item. I don't have a whole lot to add for an annexation, other than obviously we'd like to bring this into your corporate limits, get access to utilities, and join the beautiful town of Wendell. Be happy to take any questions you may have, or if you just want to wait till the rezoning, be happy to do that as well.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the citizens in the room? Comments? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Gentlemen, what do y'all want to?
Madam Mayor, I have a motion if you're ready.
Yep, I'm ready.
Motion to approve the requested annexation and adopt the attached ordinance.
We have a motion to approve the requested annexation and adopt the attached ordinance. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Madam Mayor, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
I just was, I always struggle with these things because I don't know when to kind of stick my mind here. I mentioned this past before some meetings we've had with the type of development that we're seeing here in the town. I've said this before, where I feel like we're getting just a ton of the same thing over and over again with as far as housing types and home types and development types, and it just seems to be so overloaded. And I even remarked to one of the commissioners the other day, I was like, I don't think we've had so much stuff come in here recently that I don't have an idea of really what the town's going to look like in 8 or 9 years, because so much stuff has come in here recently that it's overwhelmed myself. I see we prove this one, we prove this one. We hear about a lot of concerns here lately, so I still have concerns as far as a town when all this stuff is built out. What type of product are we going to have? What type of how is the town going to look? I at this point, I said this before, I can't approve the annexation just because I don't agree with necessarily what we're doing with all of our land here in town. So when I vote against this, that's where I'm coming from. But I just want to voice my opinion.
Okay. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor?
Yep.
And I certainly appreciate a lot of the comments there, but just wanted to clarify, because I think this particular map does a really good job of demonstrating it. All of the other houses that we see around it, we had no control over how they were built, to what level they were built, to what scope they were built, and they're on City of Raleigh water. So the only thing we're deciding tonight in dealing with this piece of property, in my opinion, is whether or not we want to have any control over it. Because I'd imagine if neighbors on both sides have access to Raleigh water, that's generally speaking the only reason anybody needs us. So my thought was kind of along the same lines, but I'm voting the opposite way because I have the opposite view on it, and that's that if we don't do this, I'm sorry? Is that if we don't do this, we're just gonna cede, like, this is gonna go to the county, they're just gonna approve, the county's just gonna approve whatever they'd like, because they've done it all around there.
Understand.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion to grant, the requested annexation and consider adoption of the attached ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Item 5C is a public hearing to rezone approximately 88.07 acres from Wake County Residential 40 and Residential 20 to Town of Wendell R4 Conditional District for the Cayden Cove Subdivision located off North Carolina 97. Mr. Coates.
Yep, good evening. The applicants requested to create an R4 conditional district for the 88 acres. The neighborhood features 222 single-family homes. Property information, it is located on NC 97, roughly 88 acres. Property owner is Sandra Driver. Residential zoning around the property, some Town of Wendell, some Wake County. This is an area along 97 where there are a lot of Wake County subdivisions. Some do have utilities, are not in our jurisdiction. So this development is proposing to be in that. The request is they would have R4 is traditionally minimum 6,000 square foot lots. The applicant's proposing a minimum 4,800 with the average lot size still around 6,000. The lot dimensions you'll see on this next slide. The lot width in R4 zoning is 50 feet. They're proposing a mixture of lot sizes, which is one of our goals about having a diversity or a mixture of housing type. This neighborhood is proposed to have 41-foot wide alley lots that'll have garages in the back. They're also proposing 3 front-loaded options that'll either be 41 feet, 51 feet, or 61 feet wide. The lot depth, they're gonna be longer than required, 120 feet. Front setback is still 25. Side setback in R4 could be 10% each side. They're proposing just 5 on each side for clarity. Rear setback is 20, and they are asking for corner setbacks to be 15 instead of 25 feet. Overall site plan, and we'll go a little more detail. The major north-south collector road, which is identified in our transportation plan, but it actually identifies it on Raybon Drive. So the collector road is traditionally 67-foot right-of-way, wider, and carries traffic from neighborhood to neighborhood. Taking Raybon Drive, that's a state-maintained road, and having that as a major collector, connecting future neighborhoods was not a good option when we met with the developer early on. They actually agreed to build the collector and have the alley-loaded homes along this western portion, which is a significant investment. It completes a portion of our transportation plan. It also limits traffic on Raybon to be more local of what it is today. If you know of DOT roads, traditionally the pavement is 18 or 20 feet. It's not meant to handle. A collector in our jurisdiction is Big Falls or Taylor Road. They have wider pavement, they have bike lanes, they have sidewalks. Raybon Drive, for that to function as a collector, would be very, very challenging and cost a lot of money for upgrades. And it's still maintained by the state of North Carolina. So they have one connection to Raybon early on. All of their other streets are internal. They do show stubs to neighboring properties, and we'll go over the details of their amenities and other details of the development. They are proposing 16 zoning conditions. We'll go over these. In order to promote a variation in home appearance, no home can be constructed with a front exterior elevation, front facade, or color palette that is identical to the home on either side or directly across the street. Garage doors shall either contain windows or carriage-style adornments. The community will have an HOA. The rezoned parcel will only be used for single-family detached units, accessory dwelling, or accessory uses, which an accessory use is a shed, and other normal accessories. Foundation shall be raised monolithic slab with a minimum 8-inch of exposed concrete adorned with stucco or another finish above finished grade. The development will be in accordance with the approved site plan. Improvements recommended by the traffic impact analysis and comments by DOT shall be coordinated with NCDOT and constructed per NCDOT final requirements. DOT is requiring a right turn lane into the neighborhood off of NC 97. If required, right-of-way cannot be acquired because part of to create that turn lane, they're going to need neighboring properties to dedicate some right-of-way. They would be willing to pay a fee in lieu for those improvements. On-street parking shall be permitted in designated spaces. Corner setback for the development shall be 15 feet rather than 25. All structures shall comply with site triangle requirements. Side setback for the development will be a standard 5 feet rather than the variable 10%. The minor collector shall be provided within the subject property to support a future connection to Marshburn from NC 97 rather than as an extension of Raybon Drive as indicated on the town's plan. This improvement will negate the need to widen the existing Raybon Drive to bring it to minor collector standards and shall reduce traffic impacts on that existing neighborhood. No lots less than 50 feet wide may have driveway access to the portion of Street A designed as a minor collector. All dwelling units shall have an outdoor deck, patio, or porch with a minimum of 64 square feet. If used, all vinyl siding shall be a minimum .046 gauge, which is a higher quality. The minimum lot size for the development shall be 4,800 square feet rather than 6,000 to permit a range of lot sizes that was mentioned in a previous slide. And they are asking that one cul-de-sac exceed the 300-foot length. The majority of the conditions are a give. There are a few that they're asking, like the side setback and the cul-de-sac length, but they are giving us some design standards. Public utilities, development of the site will require connection to city water and sewer service, which is available. The parcel will need to be annexed, which you just did, and the applicant has filed that petition. Current plan contains 3 phases. Phase 1 includes a community pool, a tot lot park, and 2 small, like, neighborhood pocket parks. We always like to bring that up as development, so when the residents are moving in that first phase, they will have amenities, and it is part of the package. Phase 3 does include a park as well, but they are kind of front-loading the neighborhood with amenities in the beginning. The environmental, the applicant will need to obtain stormwater, sedimentation, erosion control permits from Wake County before any site work can commence. The proposed development plan will need to meet all the requirements of the town's UDO. The stormwater, sedimentation, erosion control services for the town are provided by Wake County. At this time, the proposed plan does show 2 stormwater ponds located in the southern portion of the development. The site does not contain any floodplain. However, the applicants identified wetlands along Fall Branch, which is in the western border of the property. They are providing a 50-foot Neuse River buffer along Fall Branch, the creek. Buffers, UDO requires a type B. They are providing that along the abutting homes along Raybon Drive. And type B buffer is a planting of 1 tree every 25 feet and 1 shrub every 6. Open space, providing roughly 40 acres of open space. They're required to provide 8.9. The applicant is providing roughly an acre and a half of fully active park space and then 2.75 acres of improved park space. The active space includes the tot lot and community clubhouse and pool. This is a map. Everything in green is actually open space or buffers. From a planning side, it's a thoughtful design. There's portions of that open space where they could have certainly tried to squeeze in more lots, especially on this northern end. This is a nice buffer between the existing residences and the new. And then you have the creek along this border. And then there are portions of this eastern side that abuts that, you know, could have had more development, but getting to it's not the best option, and it does provide a nice buffer. Streets, the applicant's responsible for making the road requirements along NC 97, which is a future 4-lane divided right-of-way that contains curb and gutter, 5-foot bike lanes, 6-foot sidewalks, and street trees. The property contains roughly 400 feet of road frontage along 97. arterial and collector street plan, you can see this green dotted is where our plan recommends the collector through Raybon. What they're doing is just creating it further to the west to not disturb Raybon Drive. Streets, Town of Wendell UDO requires street connectivity index of 1.4. They're actually at a 1.55. It helps when you see these block grid layouts. It scores really well on mobility, so people on these streets have way more than one or two ways in and out of the neighborhood. They also are showing connections to NC 97 and Raybon Drive, but they're also having 3 stubs to other properties. So when they develop, there will be more interconnectivity towards Marshburn and Wendell Boulevard. TIA was completed. It met our thresholds. So there will be a right turn lane of 75 feet into the property from NC 97 onto that collector street. Current comprehensive plan shows it's S4 controlled growth. It's where the majority of our new growth should occur. Mix of housing type, traditional neighborhood development. Neighborhood could be single family, could be multifamily. In this case, they're only proposing single family. Meets the comprehensive plan. Planning board action at their June 21st, 2021 meeting, the planning board voted 5-2 on the motion to approve the requested R4 conditional district. Let me just go back 2 slides and explain. Planning board asked the applicant to see if this cul-de-sac, if you can see it by mouse, I think you can. This cul-de-sac could connect to Raybon Drive. The applicant did look after the meeting, and I'll let David come up and talk about their findings for that. We as staff did not want to see too many connections to Raybon because it would really disrupt the amount of traffic in their neighborhood. And it really functions as really a local street. And so to actually have more connections may cause more issues. So we were supportive of the current layout from a planning staff side. The statement of comprehensive plan consistency, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the uses outlined in the Wendell comprehensive plan, especially principle number 6, which is to provide for a range of housing opportunities. TRC reviewed it. All comments have been addressed by TRC. If approved, the development will have to still go through TRC for construction drawings, and then staff is recommending approval of the conditional district. I can field any questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions from Mr. Coates from the board?
Yes, question. How much extra parking is there? The same things I always ask, is there enough parking when people visit, and can they park on our streets there?
Yes, so there's roughly, give me 1 second, I actually wrote it down. There is parking at the amenity center for the pool, and then there is also spots, I believe it's a little over 30 spots total. Yeah, 20 and 13, so 33.
33 spots for 200 some, okay.
202, yeah, so they'll all have garages, and so they're providing over 600 parking spaces on each, with the lots, plus the guests.
And no one can park on streets to get
Only in designated parking spots.
Any other questions from the board? All right, let's open the public hearing and hear from the applicant.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the board. I also have Mr. Yoakley here with Lennar. Brian gave a very thorough overview of this, but I did want to just kind of highlight a few main points. There was a desire from the very beginning of this to try to take into account the existing Raybon Drive residents and impact them as little as possible. Originally, this parcel actually wrapped around the northern side of Raybon Drive as well. It's since been split off as part of the purchase and acquisition by Lennar, but we cut that portion out because we didn't want to have the development kind of wrap around it and have them just kind of be in the middle of our new development. Brian also mentioned the movement of the collector street. That was a big push and in my view, a big positive for the town of Wendell, a big give by the developer, rather than just having I don't know, probably around 400 or 500 foot extension of Raybon Drive be this 67-foot right-of-way collector that would technically follow your plan, but realistically, are you ever gonna really upgrade the rest of Raybon Drive and make that fully functional? Probably not. So having that fully encompassed within the Cayden Cove proposed subdivision, to me is one of the biggest pluses for the town here in terms of moving forward your collector street plan. As stated, there's a whole lot more open space than needed. Some of that is just due to environmental conditions, admittedly, but other parts, there could have been some additional lots squeezed in, as Brian mentioned, especially closer to 97, but it wouldn't have been in a layout that we would have been especially happy with for this neighborhood, or that probably would have been received as well from neighboring residents. We did hold a voluntary neighborhood meeting and invited, this is virtual, this was several months ago, Raybon Drive residents and adjoiners. There was, I think because of some of the steps we had taken to cut out the portion of the north, to limit those impacts, where we chose to make that connection to Raybon Drive, we did so closer to the entrance to allow a secondary way in and out, both for the proposed subdivision as well as Raybon Drive, but also, although I don't think it would get a whole lot of use from our residents going towards Raybon Drive, if so, any traffic that did go that way wouldn't be going past the entire Raybon Drive subdivision, only kind of that entry section. And that's part of the reason why we just showed that one connection to Raybon rather than connecting that cul-de-sac. That was something that, as part of the neighborhood meeting, there was a desire to try to limit those impacts, there was fears that a connection at the end of Raybon Drive would cause more through traffic along Raybon than one closer to the entrance. So that's why we have that cul-de-sac and that condition there. We did look after the planning board meeting to see, could we connect that? What would the impact be? We'd likely have to lose a lot or two to make that turn radius work, and probably adjust that stormwater. There's a stormwater pond kind of at the end of Raybon, at the end of the cul-de-sac. We'd have to adjust that a little bit because we'd be getting into the area that the grading for that starts. So there would be a little bit of redesign. Could it be done? It could be done, but it's our opinion, and I think staff supports that it's not really needed, and just I don't think the positives outweigh the negatives in this case. Be happy to take any questions you may have about the layout, conditions, or anything else.
Right. Any questions for the applicant from the board? Yes.
I have a couple of comments and a couple of questions. So my comment is I do appreciate, and I'm sure the residents on Raybon appreciate, it does look like a fair amount of work was going into thinking this out and keeping traffic off of Raybon Drive. And like I said, I'm sure that's appreciated. A couple of my questions, number one is the 5-foot setback. So if you have a 5-foot setback, I just want to make sure for clarity's sake, that's going to mean that the houses are going to be 10 feet apart. I mean,
would be the minimum. They could be.
The minimum.
They could be.
That'll be the minimum.
Could be a side setback between homes, yes.
Okay. That to me with vinyl is a little bit close. And so my first request would be, because I saw in the conditional district that it said vinyl where used, or if used. I'm not sure exactly what the terminology is, so it would seem as though that you might be thinking for something other than vinyl anyway. Would the developer be willing to change that to cementous fiberboard or comparable in light of the fact that the 5-foot setback for the lot sizes? That would be my first question. And my second question, something that I harp on in all these, is about the raised slab. In my opinion, 12 inches is the minimum to count as a raised slab. You can get 8 inches just because of the fall of the lot. And so that will be my second request, is to raise the minimum for the raised slab from 8 inches to 12 inches.
I told them to expect that, so not unexpected. I'm going to probably get Charlie to weigh in on some of this, but do we want to see if there's other questions that may be directed, or just go ahead and respond to those?
Let's go ahead and respond to those. It's fine.
Evening, my name's Charlie Oakley with Lennar. I appreciate y'all listening to us tonight. On the foundation, 12 inches is, we'll agree to that. If you could give me a minute or two, a shot of text about the hardy plank, just to get verification. I don't want to say something that I can't. So give me a couple minutes to verify. I don't think that's a problem. I just want to get confirmation on
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
and if no one else has any comments, I have a couple other things I'd like to say.
Go ahead.
And this, I know a lot of people have some misgivings about higher density development. And I realize this is significantly higher density, as far as lot size goes, than what it's, you know, surrounding or what it is slotting into. With that said, I've always been a proponent of a little bit higher density. This far out away from the town center, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing something a little bit bigger. However, the flip side of that is I've found from living in a neighborhood, I grew up on a farm, I grew up on 90 acres, and you couldn't see your neighbors. And I now live in a neighborhood, I'm on a third of an acre, and, you know, I have, you know, 10 neighbors that I can, you know, hit with a baseball from my house. And the sense of community that you get from a higher density neighborhood, I actually know my neighbors, you know, get out and see them, you know, kids, you know, play outside and all those other kinds of things that I didn't get to do as a child. And I think when you start putting houses on 1 acre, 2 acre lots, and, you know, it's a 5-minute, you know, walk to get to the next 3 or 4 houses. You know, I'm just saying these higher density neighborhoods tend towards more cohesive neighborhoods, and I don't think they're necessarily a bad thing in and of themselves if they're placed in the right place and they're done in the right ways. And so I just wanted to say that. The other thing is this board's beholden to the town's interest and the citizens' interest, and not to the developer. I mean, that's why this is sort of a horse trading kind of thing here. And obviously, higher density is more profitable for developers. You know, if it wasn't, they wouldn't do it. But it is much more fiscally responsible for the town, because the cost to maintain these roads, these are going to be town streets. The cost to maintain the water system and the streets and provide, you know, leaf and limb pickup and all those other things, you know, is basically based on the linear footage of the streets, whereas the amount of tax dollars you get is based on how many lots you have, how many houses you have. And so those things, you know, basically scale against each other. And so as far as the town concerned, the higher density, the better. And we have approved a number of these higher density neighborhoods in the 8 years that I've been on this board. And as far as I know, every single one of them is an absolutely excellent neighborhood. I don't know of any neighborhood that I would go back and say, I wish we hadn't done that. And I think a lot of the gloom and doom people put on higher density neighborhoods, I haven't seen it. So I just wanted to throw that out there when it comes to density.
Are you ready? Are there any other questions from the board?
I have,
Joyner, go.
David, why are you talking to us and not Wake County?
Because we want access to the water and sewer, and because I wanted to come back and see you all.
And I say that just, and maybe Brian can provide a little more clarity on that, but when I saw this particular connection, where it was and what it was surrounded by, we don't, everything around it is the county. They already have access to our most precious resource. What am I?
So the water that's across the street, where there is some in the county jurisdiction, was something that got approved years back and had to actually kind of get the town's blessing on at that time. And I'm speaking of before I was actually here, but I've heard this from Teresa enough. There was supposed to be an agreement that they would then subsequently annex into the town of Wendell. The county can't, unless the town is given the option of annexing it in, the county can't approve a subdivision that's connected to water and sewer unless the town has the option first to annex it in.
To clarify for the board, since the merger agreement, we have to follow Town of Raleigh connection requirements. One of our merger agreement stipulations is that to access town water and sewer, you have to annex. That protects both our taxpayers' investment in paying off the merger debt with the higher rates all these years, and the current Raleigh customers, which are also our residents in this case, to get return on their investment and pay for the system installation. So for public water and sewer to be made available for development, they have to annex into the town. And so to do any type of development that gets a return that's not a much larger well and septic system, they would have to come into the town, and that requires a little additional density. In this case also, it's in our urban service area, which means that before they can go to the county with any development, they have to come talk to the town about, is this in your growth area? This is in our anticipated growth area, with Wake Tech being just down the street, and it's around the corner from Edgemont Landing and other similar subdivisions.
Any other questions from the board? Are we ready with the 2 additional conditions that have come up?
Well, nobody else has texted me, so they're all taking the night off while I work, so I'll just make the command decision and say, yes, we would agree to a hardy plank condition.
All right. And I assume the applicant is in agreement to the 16 others, so this makes 18 total?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just supposed to ask. Okay, great. All right, are there any citizens that would like to speak for or against? Have your name and address, please.
Regina Harmon, 6616 Tails Branch Road, Wendell. I kind of want to just play off a little bit about, Commissioner Lutz and what he said, because first of all, this project, out of everything I've heard here recently, it's very well put together. I will say that. It's very well put together. But it's also on the outskirts of Wendell again, and trying to bring it into the city limits, if I'm understanding this correctly. How far away is it from the Zebulon city limits versus our city limits? And, does that make any sense? Just asking. And then another thing that I want to point out is, Commissioner Lutz made a very good point. Y'all have passed so much here recently. I would love to see a map up there at some point showing us everything that y'all have passed recently, what kind of housing density it's going to be, what kind of housing sizes and all that, because it seems like everything has been on the outskirts of our city limits line, nothing in the center of it. And, growth is great, it really is, but with it going there, how's it going to affect our schools? I haven't heard anything about that recently. I hear you talking about roads, which makes no sense to me, so I can't even speak on that. But I do know how many schools we have in our area, and I know they're pretty much, or have been in the past, full to capacity. And with everything that's coming up and that y'all voted on in the last couple of years, we're talking about a large amount of population coming to our community, which is absolutely wonderful. But we have this slogan that I haven't heard in a really long time. What is it? Small town, big charm? I think that's what it is. And right now, it's becoming big town, small charm, because we're growing so fast that we're tending to not look at some of the other things that are going to affect this growth down the road. And Commissioner Lutz kind of pointed that out just a little bit while ago. And, where are we going to be in 5 to 10 years? How are these homes? Are we having homes that a family can move here but move up to? Are they homes that, we can have some growth to, so they don't come here and live for a small period of time and then they leave us and they go somewhere else for a bigger home? Are we just building all of the same things? Things like that. Every single thing that comes before the board sounds fantastic at the moment, the way it's presented. And, for somebody like me sitting out there in the audience where I don't know a lot of this stuff, but then so many things have been passed recently, I'm going, oh my God, we got this, we got that, we got some more of this. And, then I start thinking about, okay, well, about 8,000 apartments are going up, about this many houses are going up. Where are those kids going to go to school? What about the roads, things like that? All that has a play in it. Traffic patterns, stuff like that. I really don't see a lot of that being talked about. And again, I'm just coming at this from a perspective of everything that's been done, and we keep just passing more and more and more. But it would be great to see a big map up there of Wendell and all these blotches of everything that y'all have passed and what's coming there, so you could actually see an overview of everything, because so much has been passed that sometimes, and I don't mean this in any disrespect whatsoever, you guys might forget about what was passed 6 months ago, because you've moved on to the next project. But when you see it as a whole, and it would help us too as citizens, because I know I do the same thing. I mean, like I said, this particular thing right here, it's kind of halfway in between Wendell and Zebulon, and no offense, it was put together very nicely. But they came to us, and is there a reason for that? That was just one question, and the rest of it is just merely a statement, because Commissioner Lutz actually brought up something that I was thinking when you guys passed the other thing right before this. So thank you for your time. I do hope that you consider those thoughts and all the stuff that has been passed here lately over the past couple of years, because it really has been a lot. Thank you very much.
For clarity, we have an interactive development map on our website that you can take a look at that. So take a look at that.
Yeah, that is correct, and it contains way more than projects that come to this board. There are a lot of developments by right or proposals that don't come for rezonings that meet our zoning requirements. The map is on the planning webpage and was done in the fall of 2019, and it's updated monthly.
It's on the Town of Wendell under planning.
Just Town of Wendell planning.
Under planning.
Okay.
Also, we've discussed this just recently. We have regular communications with Wake County Public Schools regarding numbers of permits. They do that with all the municipalities within Wake County. So they're aware, and we can't approve or not approve based on that. That's not something we control, but we do communicate with them regularly and routinely, and they know what's going, and they're doing, this is their responsibility to prepare to be able to meet the needs, whatever they may be. So, and then the location of it, you want to speak to that, the location of the development within our,
Transportation map picture that you had. Yeah.
Yeah, so just quickly, the project is in the Town of Wendell's urban service area. Wake County has a series of maps. Every town has annexation boundary agreements with each other. Wendell and Zebulon, our boundary for future development on for both towns is Little River, is the border. So in this area, it is miles and miles from Zebulon city limits. It's way closer to Wendell.
Yeah.
It's in our urban service area, and it's, yeah.
For the sake of the citizen and the board, this darker yellow here is part of the Town of Wendell. That's Industrial Drive, so that's a light industrial area off of Business 64 right here. The road that they're putting in is part of our adopted transportation plan for a collector road, and that's going to collect down to 97 for a road that's going off of Marshburn and connecting back across, and there's an opportunity to connect back. So it's an important part of the transportation plan to have that section of road put in. It'll be part of the grid network as the town grows out there. That's the core of town right there. This is the Edgemont Landing additional properties. So it's literally one development. That's Siemens plant right there at the end of Siemens Road. You're basically talking one property away from major parts of the town at this time for this location.
Well, like I said, that entire project is probably one of the best put together that I've seen in a long time, and and the road accesses that you're showing right there certainly helps.
so we have a transportation plan for connectivity throughout our town, and this is in furtherance of that, and the planning staff takes a look at that as well.
Yeah, prior to Brian and I being here, the past boards have adopted plans that saw this area as developing for residential and made sure that the transportation grid is connected in, and that's what we were pushing on this developer.
For connectivity throughout town.
Throughout.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions, are there any other citizens that would like to speak?
My name's Brian Staples. I live at 1413 Raven Drive. And so we've heard a lot of talk about Raven Drive, and I thought I would tell y'all about Raven Drive because I don't know, being since it's outside the city limits, how many of y'all might have been there. We're a one street, half-mile long street subdivision. It was built in the mid-'80s by Charles Driver. The majority of the houses are 1- and 2-story houses, average to 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. I myself have lived there for 26 years, and we have many residents on Raybon that have been there since it was built, so 35-plus year residents. So this definitely affects us. We're the eastern border, and I know about growth. It's coming. I understand that. What I would like to ask for David and Lennar, if can you get the green one? The other one? I wanted him to show you the picture that shows you what this area currently looks like. That 88 acres is forest land and active farm right now. And my concern, I back up to the eastern side, or the eastern side of this development. Currently, I look out my backyard, nothing but trees. Hurricane Fran did a number on us, but they came back strong. And I think we have a proposed 20-foot buffer. I'd like to see that wider if possible. Because there's a lot of trees. It's forest land, and for years Wendell prided itself on it as a tree city, and I surely don't want to see them come in there and clear cut all this land and then go back to rebuild, because we've got a ton of trees. And I will say that I appreciate David's plan and not making Raybon Drive a collector at the end, because it wouldn't hurt the subdivision. You would have destroyed it. You know, it's a single, one street. Anybody that drives in, we all know who's driving in, because we know everybody. So if we had traffic flying up and down the road with the little kids that we have playing out there, that would have destroyed that. So I appreciate that design and making that change. But the biggest thing I'd like to ask for is, let's try not to go in there like we see in a lot of subdivisions and clear cut all these trees, and if it's possible, to get a bigger buffer, like I said, because right now when we look, that's all we see are trees, and there's plenty of wildlife, and I see the deer coming through my yard all the time. So that's some of our concerns. I know that the Neuse River buffer is on the west side, but we also have a dry creek bed that runs right behind us that fills when it rains. So it will have an environmental impact. There's no doubt about that. But I would just ask that be mindful of the trees and try to give the existing residents as much buffer as possible. And I do want to say, like I said, appreciate the cul-de-sac at the end, because, like I said, if this would have been a connector street, it would have destroyed our neighborhood. So thank you for your time.
Sure. All right, well, let's hear from the applicant again on the buffer and the clear cutting.
There are a lot of trees out there, and I'm not going to be able to leave it the way it is now. I think he understands that. What we'd probably ask is a type B buffer. Again, he mentions a 20-foot wide. It's not as dense as maybe it could be, so our preference would be if we could, say, increase the density of what's planted there by 50% more than what? Yeah, double it.
So keep the 20 feet, but you want to
plant more
some
within
trees and within it.
Plant more, yeah, plant double within that space.
David, can't you, I mean, so this is why commissioners shouldn't do urban planning. Can't we slide that whole thing over a little bit and split the difference as far as trying to create more buffer on that side? Like, is there?
On that west side of the development there, we're up against a creek and some wetlands and things, so we don't have a lot of shifting room. That's why we'd be willing to double what the plants are in there to sort of alleviate some concerns, but we don't have a lot of room.
Yeah, that stream buffer on our southern side keeps, like, our alleys going right up against that stream buffer, so we can't just kind of shift it down for that reason.
Well, I appreciate that there's a creek there. You got people on the other side. Is there, and I appreciate the concept of density. I think we've gotten rather creative recently with buffers. I'm trying to remember the last buffer we did that was like a berm with a wall, with a buffer, with a...
Lions Club Road, maybe,
Privacy fence. We could put a fence in there too. Privacy fence. Yeah, privacy fence to supplement increased landscaping.
privacy fence and additional lands, and additional trees. Okay. All right. Good. Does that help? Okay. Adding trees and a fence.
I've got to mention, we are on city Raleigh water, but our lot sizes are minimum half acre, so we're on septic tank, we're not on sewer. We don't have city Raleigh already drive.
Okay, so now the applicant is in agreement to, I have 19 conditions. The most recent one being a fence and additional plantings within the wooded area.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we had one tree from 25 feet and a shrub every 6, so we would do 2 shrubs every 25 or 2 trees every 25 and 12 shrubs every, is that right?
2 shrubs every 6 feet, 2 trees every 25.
That's what it was.
I want to ask one more question. So, and I appreciate that, and that's going in and putting new. And I should have asked this in a previous one. Is there a piece to that that is preserving the existing? Because I mean, I can just assume that if there's some, haven't seen it, but if there's a line of pines in there, I'd imagine that the chief would appreciate the line of pines being there, plus the fence, plus what you're putting in new, much more than cutting down what's there to put new.
Put a new little bush or something.
There are trees on that property line. I can't promise you guys that we won't disturb it. We haven't fully developed our grading plans yet, so I can't tell you for sure that there's not gonna be an instance where we need to disturb part of that 20-foot area. So
you have to think about the tree root system usually extends about the same as their canopy. So if we're having the back of those lots graded, there's a chance of damaging that tree root line along that.
I think we just want to avoid the clear cut to the property line and then replant.
Right, we'll stop short, but I can't promise that the trees that are in there won't be damaged or need to come out because of the grading work that goes on. So I don't want to commit to something that we can't do, so.
We'll try our best.
All right, any more citizens, any other citizens that would like to speak? Come up to the podium and give me your name and address, please.
Yes, my name's Terry Fox, and I live at 1417 Raybon Drive. I'm a neighbor to Mr. Staples over there. And I'm a 35-year resident of the street. I'm also a retired geologist with the Department of Transportation, and I've observed a lot of water flow in that area. I'm looking at the street number there. What is that, street D there?
It looks like Street D, it's the one along that.
Right now there's drainage, somewhat shallow. It's not like the streams on either side, but it still carries quite a bit of water. And after a rain event, say 2 inches or more, the water does rise to the surface, and you get a lot of ponding there. It takes a few days for it to infiltrate back into the groundwater table, and it's worse during the winter months when the groundwater table's the highest, where now after leaf out. During the summer months, it drops. And so, and I know on the county maps, that is listed as, the soils are listed as flood-prone soils. And again, just because it's not as deep as the channels on either side, it is going to cause a problem. And I would highly recommend that that whole row of houses or lots be moved into some of the other green areas. So I think in the future, there's really going to be a problem there with the road upheaving, with the hydraulic pressure of groundwater coming up, and mold and mildew under people's houses. So I just put that there. I'm not against the development. I'm just trying to avoid any hardship, heartache for future residents. With that, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You bet.
Do y'all have anything you want to add about stormwater and water runoff?
Only that, and yes, he's right, there are some flood-prone soils, kind of back along that area. Flood-prone soils aren't regulated the same way that floodplains are, or wetlands, or things of that nature. That's not to say they don't matter, but they're not they don't matter to the same extent in that, that's why they're not regulated in the same way as those others. But it is something that would be taken into account, and of course, this development, as well as all other developments in Wendell, has to submit detailed stormwater plans that are reviewed by Wake County as part of that service. So this will have to go through that review. We'll have to show that post-development runoff does not exceed pre-development runoff, and that we're meeting kind of all those requirements of the stormwater ordinance.
Anyone else? Any other comments from the board? Questions from the board? All right, we'll close the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I have a motion if you're ready for it.
I'm ready.
Make a motion to approve the rezoning request of 88.07 acres from Wake County Residential 40 and Residential 20 to Town of Wendell R4, and to create the R4 Conditional District for that 88.07 acres, along with the 16 original proposed conditions and the additional three.
I believe it was 3.
From tonight.
Okay, so I'm going to say it's shorter. We have a motion to approve the conditional district request with 16 conditions plus 3 more from tonight. And do you also want to include the adoption of the ordinance with your motion?
And the adoption of the ordinance.
And the adoption of the ordinance. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Madam Mayor,
So, just quickly,
Yeah.
the one on the foundation would just modify that condition. So where it says 8 inches, you would just say 12.
Okay.
And so really it's
So
18.
it's actually 18, all right.
18 conditions,
I wrote
yes.
them down and numbered them. All right, fine. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess my thing is I just want to make sure we have it in order because as it's, I guess, well documented, I enjoy the 2-week, talk about it, think about it, pray about it, et cetera, and get it right. You know, we've had some questions and conversations come up tonight. Anyway, I won't go into too much detail, but I will say if it is an option and we feel like we need 2 weeks to get it right, then let's get it right. If we want to go ahead tonight, we have everything ironed out, then I'm okay with that too. So I just want to put it out there.
Okay, can we restate your motion? 18 conditions and 1 modification.
Sure.
Okay, to approve the zoning request and adopt the ordinance.
Can we, before you do that,
Yes.
can I ask a question that might throw it out?
Okay, yeah.
All right, so there's a 20-foot buffer. I'm back on David and my buffer again, and I'm trying to get a little clarity here. It's a 20-foot buffer with a fence and 100% more than shrubs than you planned on when you walked in. But we have this tree canopy question idea. So why not make it 25-foot buffer plus the things? To make sure, that would get me 20 foot worth of trees, because that gives you an extra 5, the excavator gets close, it hits the root, maybe we can give it some miracle grow, but.
And I know that sounds like a tiny amount of land, but that 5 feet can completely blow up our grading plans at this point, and I don't know what they are.
It could completely blow up my boat on this too, so, that's the logic where I'm at, is just trying to figure out if that can be achieved. And you may be able to come back to me and say, hey, look, we're definitely, after looking at our grading plan, we're definitely not gonna hit that 20-foot buffer. But if the 20-foot buffer is a 20-foot buffer, I don't want it to be, well, it's really 15 plus some change, because, you know, half the canopy was on our side, half the canopy was on yours.
It'll be 20 feet. It'll be a 20-foot strip that will be recorded on a plat.
Right, I get that piece.
Okay.
The existing trees that are there, if we walk out from the property line 20 feet, all of those trees, I want them to stay there. How do I achieve that?
Probably gonna have to give me 2 weeks to talk to my engineer.
Okay. Madam Mayor, I'd be in favor of Commissioner.
I got you. I'm just looking at the calendar. Madam Mayor, I want to withdraw my motion,
Okay?
and I make a new motion
Mm-hmm.
to table this until September the 13th.
So we have a motion to table this until September, did you say 13th?
13th.
Is there any discussion on that motion?
No.
I support that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. All right, our last public hearing is for a contiguous annexation for 5 parcels totaling 6.83 acres, 1.24 acres for PIN number 17843190056, 1.5 acres for PIN number 17843079979, 1.05 acres for PIN number 17844011983, 0.86 acres for PIN number 17844011800, and 1.83 acres for PIN number 17844120086, located at 606, 603, 600, 601, and 540 Cook Street. That was a
Thank you for
mouthful.
reading that, Mayor. I appreciate it. As the mayor said, this is a public hearing for contiguous annexation for 5 parcels totaling 6.83 acres. The applicant, Creedmoor Holdings LLC, has submitted the request. Over the last 2 years, they have purchased all 5 of these parcels. These parcels are sitting in our ETJ, are on well and septic currently. The applicant is looking to do something basically more than storage with the buildings. Without access to municipal water and sewer, the use inside these buildings, which roughly are 60,000 square feet, is limited. They requested connection to utilities and annexation. They're not changing the zoning. It's already manufacturing and industrial. They have submitted plans to extend the sewer line to reach these properties and water. Their long-term goal is to renovate the buildings, put them to use for future business of some kind that meet that manufacturing industrial zoning. They need access to our utilities. Current value of the tax value of these parcels, a little about 1.2 million, as 63,000 in existing square footage. Long-term use of the property, it's great to see water and sewer. It increases our chance of redevelopment. They will be doing some cosmetic work outside and inside as part of the project, and have submitted preliminary plans for parking, curb and gutter, doing some minor upgrades on the exterior. I can field any questions you have on the annexation.
All right. Yeah, are there any questions from the board? All right, we'll open the public hearing. Would the applicant like to be heard? Is there an applicant
The
here?
applicant's not attending.
Okay.
Did not attend.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to be heard? All right, one more time, any questions from the board? All right, we'll close the public hearing. What's y'all's pleasure?
I don't, at the moment, I do have a couple of comments I'd like to make. Opening this property up to municipal water means, improve, fire service protection. Renovation of the building means improved, fire safety, for the buildings and for any tenants that we get out there, as well as, perhaps some road improvements and, ingress and egress out of the property. I think it's great. I like infill development. And so, I'm gonna be in favor of it. As long as anyone doesn't want to hold off for 2 weeks, I'm prepared to make a motion.
All right, any other comments? Let's hear from Commissioner Boyette.
Motion to approve the petition for annexation for the 5 parcels, previously listed, and to adopt the attached resolution.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the parcels for annexation and adopt the attached resolution. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right, let's move into section 6, our administrative items. Item 6A is a resolution to authorize the Wendell Fire Department to conduct a controlled burn of town property located at 1201 South Hollybrook Road. Mr. Pulaski again.
Here again. I'm here seeking approval for a resolution authorizing the Wendell Fire Department to conduct a control burn of town property located at 1201 South Hollybrook Road. On October 14th, 2020, the town acquired the property located at that address, which consists of 19.02 acres. And it does have a residential home and an outbuilding. This property has been designed and developed to become the next community park here in town in the spring of 2022. I did approach Chief Staples upon receiving this property to ask if there was an interest in doing a control burn on these buildings. The fire department can use it as training, and then it will allow the town to have less cost in demolition and removal of the debris left over. The fire department did conduct an asbestos test, which it did pass. Let's see, by having the fire department burn these buildings, the town will have saved a significant amount of money, which will end up costing the town hopefully around about $35,000 for removal of the existing debris after the burn. That burn is scheduled for September the 19th, 2021. And Chief Staples is here if there are any questions for him as well.
All right, any questions or comments from the board for the chief or for Jeff? A motion?
Madam Mayor, I have a motion. Motion to approve the resolution authorizing the Wendell Fire Department to conduct a controlled burn of town property located at 1201 South Hollybrook Road and adopt the attached ordinance.
So we have a motion to approve the resolution to conduct the control burn and adopt the, is there a resolution? Yes.
I don't know if there is one or not, but I'm just saying it every time now.
Hey, I know, good, you say it every time.
Resolution, there you go.
Yeah, there is, I see it. So is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, anyone
Thank you.
opposed? No, okay. I'm happy to see this. I got in trouble with my father-in-law, the last one on Magnolia, for not letting him know. So he wanted to watch. All right, item 6B is the Town of Wendell Policy 111 Amendment for flowers and gifts for town employees, elected officials, and other municipal officials, and we're going to hear from the manager.
So, it's a minor amendment recommended by the Personnel Committee to the town policy for official gifts and flowers. Typically, if someone passes or another community's official passes, the mayor would do it. If a town employee has an immediate family member that passes or has a major life change, then the department head requests management approval to do this. There's a few minor changes. One's just the amount over time, making sure that it's a comparative amount from the initial, so it sets that amount at 75. Town employee, no change with the 50. It didn't specify hospitalization as an event, but that is a situation where typically someone could get flowers, especially for extended hospitalization. Remains the same regarding other elected officials and other units of government. No change on the town manager and mayor authorizing. The personnel policy was updated on the definition of immediate family, so that's probably the most pertinent change to the policy is making sure that immediate family is defined consistent with our personnel policy, and they are separate policies. Happy to answer any questions you have on this. It was recommended by the Personnel Committee, which is made up of various levels from all the departments that work with our HR administrator.
Yeah, okay. All right, any questions for the manager? A motion?
Madam Mayor?
Yep.
Motion to approve amendments made to the current flowers and gifts policy number 111, granting a new effective date of August 23rd, 2021, and adopt the attached policy.
We have a motion to approve the amendments to the current flower and gifts policy number 111, effective date August 23rd, 2021, and approve the policy, attached policy. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, let's move into item 7, other business. Update on board committee by town board members. First one's me. I attended Campo last week. We're still meeting virtually. We discussed and approved the LAP 2023 proposed changes and target modal investment mix, and formally opened the call for projects until October 29th of this year. We received projects and funding updates for the federal transportation funding. At this time, there's no adopted bill, so we're watching that. Looked at the STIP and the TIP project delays. The DOT is working through some cost increases. There's a $7 billion cost increase. They need an overhaul to stay in compliance with federal law. The Spot 6 that North Carolina DOT has canceled for right now due to limited funding availability. We're unsure of how this is going to impact the future of the TIP and the STIP programs. And LAP, the executive board deadline of 9/30/21, which is coming up. Let's see, we received information on the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and we received budget and project updates and various informational items and reports from Campo staff. And our next meeting is in September. The next one is the Wendell Volunteer Fire Department Board of Directors, Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm well staffed this evening, so if the Chief has anything he'd like to add. At our last meeting, we actually discussed traffic on Taylor Road and how that's going to tie into Wendell Falls Parkway, and some new traffic signaling devices that we hope to see placed on trucks in the future. We also discussed the projection of, or the impact of COVID-19 on the fire department, as well as our vaccination efforts, and adopted a policy that would mirror Wake County's policy to encourage vaccination among the first responders, both paid and volunteer, as a means of encouraging that and thanking them for their continued service. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We added in item 7B, which is a discussion of the COVID numbers. Who wants to begin? Commissioner Boyette.
Yes, I'll ask. We did receive some new data in the past week, some very granular data, maps showing vaccination rates for various areas of town. And, you know, one of the things I've heard is Wake County is one of the, you know, while certainly not 100% or anywhere close to 100% vaccination rate, Wake County is probably one of the higher counties around. Certainly one of the highest in the state for vaccination rates, but that doesn't hold true for every area of the county. There are some areas of the county that are a little bit lower. I don't know if the manager wanted to speak to any of that data or anything like that. If you had anything you wanted to add to it, you don't have to. But
I'm at your pleasure, whatever you want to do.
Okay. The only thing I'll say is a lot of people have done a lot of hard work to get us back to some semblance of normal. A lot of people in public health positions, as well as a lot of citizens walking around doing their part to get schools back open, to get kids back to in-person learning, and all those other kind of things. I think we were all disappointed when we heard there was a new variant out that was, you know, more contagious. I certainly thought 18 months ago that, you know, we'd have this wrapped up in a couple of months, and it obviously hasn't worked out that way. There are a lot of people that are disappointed with that, and I'm one of them. You know, I think it's imperative that everybody go out and get vaccinated. I was very pleased to hear that the Pfizer vaccine received full approval today from the FDA. So it's not an experimental vaccine anymore. It's fully approved, just like any other vaccine we require our kids to get before they go to school or anything else. It's safe, it's effective. Getting back to the map, I can tell you from personal experience, you know, working at the fire department and running EMS calls. I've been out at our Station 2, which is off of Bethany Church Road, for the past 5 months. And the uptick in EMS calls in that area, in that unincorporated area that sort of sits in between Wendell, Zebulon, Roseville, out in that area, the number of calls that we've run, I've never been that busy running EMS calls out in that area. The sick calls, the breathing difficulty calls, it is definitely having an effect at ground level. And I can tell you that there are people who we go and we see them and they just can't breathe. And it's very disheartening. And so, you know, I see it on a nearly daily basis. And I never thought I'd say I'd be glad to move to change stations, to come back to Station 1 to get a break, you know, come into town to get a break. But you know, it's having an effect everywhere. Our vaccination rates aren't as high as we'd like them anywhere. So I would encourage anybody to go and get the vaccine. And remember, there are still people that can't get the vaccine, children under 12. I have 2 children under 12 who, one attends public school now, and one's in daycare. They can't get the vaccine yet. It's not approved for their age group. My kindergartner wears a mask to elementary school every day. And, you know, we send her with 2 or 3, because that's kindergartners will lose them. But, you know, I just want to thank everybody for doing, you know, everything they can do to try to get us out of this. I think vaccines are probably the most important tool we have. And after that probably comes maintaining distance, maintaining your own little social group, and wearing a mask, just trying to isolate yourself from other people that you don't see all the time to try and limit the spread. You know, we all know what's best for ourselves, and I'm not here to preach to anybody. But, you know, the more we do, the faster we can get out of this predicament. And I do think we'll eventually get there one day. I'm not going to sit at this table wearing a mask for another 6 months, because I'm not going to be here another 6 months. But I just wanted to thank the people, everybody that's worked so hard to get us where we're at. And just continue to remind everybody that there is things you can do. If you know somebody that can't get to a vaccine site, offer them a ride. If there's anybody listening to this that needs a ride to a vaccine site, my number's on the webpage. Call me. I will personally take you to go get it. I have no qualms about doing that. We'll put the windows down and wear some masks, and you hop in the pickup truck and we'll go. I'll take you. So that's all I had about that, Mayor.
All right, anyone else?
I just want to say one thing, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner Boyer, for you're exposed to this probably more than any of us sitting up here. It was disheartening to me last year seeing Wendell's numbers constantly being some of the higher rates as far as positive tests. You know, I'd like us to be number 1, but not in that category. It was equally disheartening to me today when I saw the vaccination coverage for our area being in the lowest in the county, or one of the lowest in the county. So I have to echo his comments 100%. I mean, vaccination, you know, to me is it's there. It's an option. It's something that's showing its effectiveness. And if you can't get it, that's fine. If you don't want to get it, that's fine. But if you can get it and you're open to getting it, I just suggest you do it. I think that it's like you said, Commissioner Boyer said, it's a way of slowing this down. It's a way of trying to control this. It's a way of doing our small part to try to see this as a group effort. And I think to me that is it's just something important as citizens of a town, as citizens of a county, as just humans trying to do what we can to do things as a group. and have that sense of community and camaraderie and looking out for one another too. So, again, that's my thoughts, my impressions, and just hope everybody stays safe. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor, I certainly appreciate Commissioner Boyd, Commissioner Lutz's comments, and would say that we need to actively do things to get those numbers up, and we need to actively do things to get the vaccination numbers up. Because if you look, and I'll be happy to post all of this information, it's public information later, but if you look, for instance, Holly Springs has experienced more COVID than the town of Wendell has, but they have about, 4 times as many people in Wendell have died from it. We're getting to the portions of this where it gets more and more risky. I've tried to reach out and consult. I know that there was a mayor's meeting and there was a lot of press around that, and I started getting questions. So I've tried to reach out and consult a variety of folks on what we can do, not to achieve any short-term goal, but what we can do to achieve a long-term goal. And I appreciate the pace. I appreciate the pace at which things change, and I think that we're going to have to be responsive to how things change moving forward. If we look at our numbers today, they're nearest the highest points in January. The other piece is that we're on a steady incline, and everyone that attended my disease comments last fall will remember that until we see the spike, we're not going down the other side of the hill, so it continues. We're on an upswing right now. We're at the top. I have to imagine that it's going to get a tad worse. That said, everything that Commissioner Boyd said, everything that we've all talked about since the beginning, wash your hands, keep your distance, get a vaccine, wear a mask. Are you trying to say something? Sorry. So it's a collective effort that has to take the people that can get a vaccine getting a vaccine, the people that can wear a mask wearing a mask, the people that can keep their distance keeping their distance. Look, I don't, at the end of the day, I'd love for everyone to have all of those options and be able to use them and feel like they could use them safely. If people don't feel that way, that's fine, but I want you to be able to use every option within your toolbox that you feel comfortable using. The rest of us will pick up the slack as far as the ones that can do more will do more, and the ones that can't. That's always going to be the case. I appreciate that. The piece that triggered something for me about this earlier is we have town staff come through all the time. I noticed tonight when we introduced our new police officers, there was a resounding round of applause, and it was good to hear that. I also noticed, generally speaking, that Wendell, that is the type of community we are. We support, we're willing to do the thing. Forever, automobile crashes followed by gunshots have been the number 1, number 2 killer of law enforcement. Forever. Go back to the early 90s. I was struck earlier, the number 1 killer of law enforcement in 2020, COVID, by leaps and bounds, 241. The next related thing was 80. We're already clipping in 2021 the number that we clipped for law enforcement fatalities specific to COVID, line of duty deaths specific to COVID. It's the number 1 killer of cops right now. Now, 1, we need to make sure our law enforcement are vaccinated, but 2, it goes to speak to, like, these are the folks that don't. The chief, both of our chiefs over here will tell you that they don't get to dictate where John Boyette is going to go on his next call. All we can do is promote that everyone do everything they can to make wherever John Boyette ends up at a safe place for everybody to be. I think that everyone else here has been correct, that vaccinations is the quickest and simplest way to do this. It's the most effective. I'd argue that there is one more conservative, that in my mind, the most conservative policy and the most conservative way to deal with the thing is the least invasive thing that costs the less that gets you towards a desired outcome. For me, that's this really cheap disposable mask that's on my face. It's gonna afford me some opportunities in the next couple months that I'm very interested in. Attending an Appalachian State football game, I'm very interested in doing that. I'm willing to make some sacrifices to achieve it. But there's, you know, things like the birth of my child. I was told last week when I asked my OB, hey, what do we need to be doing to make sure that I'm protecting my wife is pregnant? And she said, hey, if you've gotten your vaccine and you're wearing your mask, you're essentially doing everything you can do to protect yourself other than stay away from other people that maybe, so I think that's the other piece in pushing the vaccine piece, is pushing that there's a lot of people that are gonna have to do a lot of different things for different reasons. I would certainly, I wonder about the 24 when I look at the deaths. 24 people that have died in Wendell, and I wonder if a little consideration, a little kindness, a little doing the thing because it's good could have prevented that. And the other thing that I would say, and I've seen folks from both sides hit the mayor over the past couple of days on all sorts of things related to this, and it's frustrating to watch because what we're attempting to get to is a common goal. And what I would say to everyone is do exactly what you feel like you need to do. Do the most that you feel you can do, and understand that our goal is to eliminate this and to protect our citizens. I don't, you know, the conversation about vaccines is important because the vaccine doesn't, it works, and also we don't have to have all of these other contentious conversations afterwards. We can go back to living a normal life. And for the record, because vaccines are required in town buildings and town places. They're required in all of our public schools. They're now being required not vaccines, masks are required in town buildings. They're required, charted all over our public schools, our kids. They're required in other communities. I certainly can appreciate that what we're doing at the time is trying to do everything we can, everywhere we can. That's, I think that's what our job is. It's our job to each other. It's our job to the town. And with the new numbers, I'm certainly going to continue watching because they're alarming.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just kind of piggyback on that, you know, just the fact that we're willing to sit up here and discuss it, I think is a step in the right direction, because, you know, everyone understands that we get the questions. You know, you get the phone call, you get the text, you get the emails, you know, where do you stand, what do you think? And I just want to tell, you know, everyone that we take it seriously. We talk about it. We don't hide from it. And we spent a lot of time talking about it, especially these past few days. Had a lengthy conversation with Mayor last week. Boyette, Lutz, and Joyner and I have all had conversations about it. You know, the vaccine is by far the number one defense, and you can't really deny that. And the approval this morning, step in the right direction for sure. And, you know, we talk about it, we care about it, we're passionate about it. You know, we'll see that taken a step further, because we're going to have some vaccines available. I've already had some conversations. You know, you can call it a shot clinic, whatever you want to call it. I want to make it available, and I want people to have the ability to do it. And we don't need to make excuses. You know, we need to take care of our folks, and we need to offer options and choices for people. You know, normally we speak for ourselves because we're singular. We don't speak as a board. But I will say, you know, obviously for the most part, we're going to continue talking about it, you know. But, you know, for me personally, you know, I appreciate the text, the calls, the emails, the comments. I appreciate the discussion because it changes. You know, it changes daily. The topics, the information, the things that happen to people personally, family members. You know, we see all the pictures this morning, kids going back to school, and you have serious conversations with, you know, how long is this going to last? And I want kids to continue in school. I want to go to the football games, the concerts, but I want people to be safe. I want people to be smart, and I just want people to care. And that's the part we can't control. We can make all of these things available, but it's up to individuals to do the right thing. So, you know, bottom line is, if you have the ability, get the vaccine. You know, you show the 100 people here, the 100 people here, the 100 people here, you know, whether it's deaths, hospitals, you know, cases, you pull whatever numbers you want to pull, but vaccine works. So, I appreciate you guys putting this on the agenda tonight to talk about, and I won't shy away from it. So let's keep talking about it. I know it changes again daily, weekly, whatever, but let's keep discussing it if we need to.
Thank you. Mr. Ternesky, did you have something you want to add? Okay. Anyone else want to have another chance? All right, thank y'all. We're going to move, I've got some things I'm going to say about it too, but I'm going to wait and do it in my comments, to our commissioners' reports, and we'll start with Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, Commissioner comments, and I've heard, we go right back to the same thing I was just talking about. As a function of my job, I represent the North Carolina Parent-Teacher Association, and I spent the better part of last year at the General Assembly, at local school board meetings, at lots of places, and the number one concern I heard from parents across the board, everywhere, in all places, is my kids need to be inside a classroom to learn. My kids need to be inside a classroom to learn. And it was a very tough predicament for school systems and school buildings and lots of weird, complicated things. And somehow the school community came out and figured out ways to achieve a school year. This year, the numbers are going right back up. Look, it's absolutely fine. And I completely understand why. Well, I feel that I understand parts of how we got here, but now we're here, and we're going to have to deal with it. I wish nothing more than the people that said last year that this is fake and it doesn't exist and it's not real were right, so we wouldn't be here. But we weren't. We have a very simple solution, and so I'm committed, and I would ask the rest of the board to be committed to, as we move forward, public events that we have, the Harvest Festival, those types of gathering events that I so desperately want to make sure we have, that we incorporate Wake County Health and Human Services in getting resources there. If it's important enough for us to have an event, it's important enough, for us to have those folks there until we get, in a place where we're, moving in a better direction. I certainly would encourage us to take part in any sort of, advocacy campaigns, but as well as coordinating, getting the county's HHS in here on the ground, helping us coordinate, with our community partners, with various places in town. It's the only solution, it's the only way out, and this is the part that I've kind of thought about all week. Last week was a long week, Afghanistan, COVID, Delta, Emerson Kate had a cut on her arm. There was a lot of things going on. And in thinking about it, I thought back to, like, man, I remember different times in life that I thought were difficult. 9/11 happened, I was in 9th grade, and I watched it in Miss Stallings' class for Earth and Environmental Science. And I remember that day, like, the next day and the following day, and then like a week later, like, you could just feel America. Like, you could feel it, like, rolling over your shoulders, because we were committed. Like, someone had, 7 guys with box cutters had attacked our country, and America, like, not just New Yorkers, not just like people that also saw it from New Jersey, not Americans, like all of us. We were pissed. We were willing to do anything in the world to go after those people that had just done the thing. I remember my grandfather talking about walking through when he went to Korea and the shot line, and the various weird medical things he got checked for because he was going to Korea, and we didn't know a lot about that at the time. When I think about the Afghanistan piece and the friends that I had that have left, the friends that I had that, like, left Rocky Mount, that were sitting with me in that classroom that morning when we saw it. One of them's name's Ryan. He didn't come back. And I got another friend that did make it back. He's not here anymore, of his own choosing. People have made huge commitments for our country. People have made huge sacrifices at times in life. You know, folks taking up machine work so that we'd have ships during World War II. Like, this is an amazing place, and if you don't believe it, pull up the video from Afghanistan last week of people falling off the side of an airplane because they so desperately wanted to leave where they were and come to this country. They so desperately understand that America means freedom, but it also means place where the collective rules, the collective comes together and leads. I'm proud that this board is going to collectively come together and lead. And I'm proud that our community historically has collectively come together and lead. I talked about it before, but we started because of a bacterial infection in Granville County. Like, that's the wilt. This community has the ability to do it. So I want to go back to what I said earlier. Look, if you don't want to get a vaccine, don't get a vaccine. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. That's fine. That's on you. If you don't want to stay away from people, that's fine, as long as the other person is not me. That's also on you. But do everything you can. Here's the numbers. Here's the facts. We've said it. You've seen it on the news for a week before we've said it. So here you go. Here's the numbers. Here's the facts. Do everything you can. And I guess at this point, that's all we can ask. Do everything you can. That's certainly what I'm asking. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Lutz?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a different topic here for me. I'm going to switch gears. Just as kids start back to school this week, just to encourage everybody to be very mindful of just transportation in and around town. Kids walking to school, kids biking to school, morning drop-offs, crossing streets, just, you know, taking our time as they get through downtown. Be very just careful-minded of that, and buses as well, too, as kids are being picked up and dropped off in the morning, too. And then just also just kind of a reminder, and it's exciting to talk about these events like 4th of July, but the Harvest Festival is around the corner, too, just probably a little over a month from now, too, so we're looking forward to these things. So that's all I had tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Boyette?
This past Wednesday, the 18th, was my little boy's 3rd birthday. And I don't want to jinx it by saying I'm certain he won't hear this because he's asleep right now, but he's asleep right now. And I just want to say happy birthday to Gray. I know she left, the lady that made the comments about Taylor Road. You know, that Wendell Falls is in a location where, you know, when I was with the RAs at Central Baptist Church, I used to go camping. Used to ride 4-wheelers up and down Taylor Road. I once went to a party in the middle of the night that was in the middle of Taylor Road. We had a bonfire in the middle of the dirt road. And now for it to be a, you know, one of the fastest growing areas around is mind-blowing to me. You know, it was in the middle of nowhere, and now it's the middle of everything almost. I understand her concerns. I'm not entirely sure that speed bumps are going to be anything that's going to happen out there, but allowing the people that live in an area to have some control over their own local area, especially with regards to what's considered a safe speed, is something that I took on several years ago. We put in place a process for citizens to request a change in the speed limit. I know there's a couple of jurisdictions out there, and that complicates the matters a little bit, but you know, I don't see any reason why that street can't be 25 miles an hour. There's a school on it. There's a fire station on it. There's houses out there who thought they were in the middle of nowhere up until, you know, 10 years ago. And, you know, I think that's totally appropriate, and so I'm totally in favor of that. I do want to welcome all of our new police officers. I know they work hard. It's a lot of training. And they do a lot to keep the town safe. I just want to remind them I drive a black Toyota pickup truck, so, and I never speed. So, and I wave every time I see them. I promise I do. I would also like to thank the town on behalf of the fire department for the live burn opportunity on Hollybrook Road. It's very beneficial for training. We don't get as many as we used to, although we've had quite a few recently. It's getting harder and harder. Old houses are harder and harder to come by, and they always present challenges when we do get them. I'm not really involved in that process. I can't take any credit for it, but I know a lot of work goes into it, and they're very beneficial, especially for our newer members. We don't have the fires that we used to have. Houses are built so safe these days that we just don't have the fires that we used to. I mean, even from when I got on. We used to burn one a month, something like that. And the new construction houses, for everything we talk about them, they're built safer. You know, we have new guys that go 2-3 years and never see an actual house fire. And that's good. That means that we're working in the right way as far as that's concerned. So I just want to say again, thanks for the opportunity. For that live burn opportunity.
Thank you. Commissioner Tornaski?
Good evening, Mayor.
Yep.
I would also like to say thanks to, you know, introducing the new police department staff to us, and they keep us safe here in Wendell. And as far as the COVID numbers and all, I'm glad, you know, we're keeping up with everything, but it is also our freedom to choose what we choose to do here in America, and looking forward to keeping Wendell open. Thank you.
Commissioner Deloach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't want to just breeze by the part about Joyner saying he was in 9th grade on 9/11. That's kind of a struggle for me, honestly. Just kind of go back a little bit. Vaccines. I'm going to have 3 dates for you. I'll get locations for you later, and I'm going to get some help getting this information out to folks. September 7th is going to be the first one. October 2nd will be the second one. And then either October 29th or 30th will be the third one. So you'll have the availability for either first or second shot, as well as potentially boosters at that time. Probably have flu shots as well. So again, I want us to have opportunity, and I don't want to just talk about it, I want to be about it. So we're going to make it happen, and I hope that I can get a little help from some folks on promoting that and getting the word out to folks. Anyway, September 7th, October 2nd, October 29th, or 30th. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, Chief Carter, for what you do. Thank you for the, obviously, a couple of these date back. We've seen some of these folks, and it's cool to see local guys hopping on board with the town. So excited to see that. And thank you, Chief Staples, for being here tonight. That's it.
Thank you. Today was the first day of school for a lot of kids. So I know it's a little bit different, but it was a great day, and it's going to be a great year. So we need to go in it with a positive attitude. It's going to be a great year. I have some comments I want to make as well about COVID and what's been going on, but I reserved my time because I knew that I had some things. I wrote it down and got real organized about what I wanted to say. I wanted the gentleman to have the opportunity to speak this evening as well. I think some of them may be well received and some of them probably won't be, but my God, my skin is so thick now I get beat up every day. So say whatever you want. So what I wanted to do is talk about how we arrived where we are today. And I also want to do a little bit of debunking because a lot's been said and a lot of people think they know everything that's gone on, everything that's happened, and you maybe don't. A couple of weeks ago, I received a calendar invitation from Wake County to a briefing, the purpose of which was to give some data on the coronavirus and to answer any questions that we may have. It was not a formal meeting of the Wake County Mayors Association. It was a briefing. I get briefings about a lot of things, so it, periodically, and this was intended to be that, no more, no less. There was no vote planned by the Wake County Mayors Association. There never was one planned. Unfortunately, some misinformation was given out, and it was ahead of the meeting, and it caused a flurry of concern by the public and got a lot of media attention, and my phone rang off the hook for several days. But that's okay, because that's part of my job. Since that time, some towns have adopted the state of emergency and mask mandates of their own. Others joined in with the one that Wake County adopted, and others decided to monitor the situation. It was my preference to discuss this with our board. A lot of the mayors do that. I think it's courteous to do that. And that was my preference. I'm certainly capable of making difficult decisions, and I've done that many times, twice regarding COVID, but I felt like it was a little bit different this time. Before, we knew much less about it, and we were waiting for a vaccine. And masks were a tool and a stopgap to help us hold on while we waited. But now that things have changed, I felt like I wanted and needed more group discussion and group input. So the board, we polled the board, and they declined, probably because we were going to have this meeting tonight. And that's fine, because we've discussed it tonight. And we maintained the status quo at that time regarding masks. Mandates are difficult to enforce, and there are a number of exceptions in the Wake County order. And to be perfectly frank, in Wendell, there are not a lot of Wendell's unique. We don't have a lot of indoor gathering places that aren't already under some masking requirement that don't fall within some kind of exception. I don't like mandates for the sake of saying we did something. I think that sometimes people fall into a trap of that, and look at what we've done. Not always, but sometimes. And masks alone do not address the real problem. They are only a piece of the solution. Vaccination availability is what really impacted our numbers previously, and it's my strong belief that vaccination is the answer this time as well. Mask wearing certainly is a tool that helps avoid the spreading of viruses, lots of viruses, including the coronavirus. And I strongly encourage people to wear one, especially if you're unvaccinated. I encourage you to do that. At this time, by far, and there's no disputing this, and I've been in communication the last several days with people, well, I'll get to that in a minute. But at this time, by far, those who are contracting the virus are part of the unvaccinated population. And it is my belief, based on credible information that's been presented to me or that I have personally gathered from area medical schools and hospitals, people who don't want their name used because they don't want to get probably the attention I'm going to get later tonight and tomorrow, but that the increasing number of vaccinated people, that increasing the number of vaccinated people is the way to get us past the situation we're in. That is the belief there. I strongly encourage you to discuss this with your health care provider. It is a health care decision. It's sad to me that people are getting misinformation on the internet and from other sources. The internet will always, most certainly, empower you and tell you anything you want to hear every time. If you look, you can find what you want to hear, and it will give you that. I trust my doctor, and I strongly encourage you to have that conversation with yours, not the internet, not your breakfast companions, your friends, or whatever groups that you belong to. Your healthcare provider is uniquely positioned to consider your entire health picture and guide you. And that is where you need to have these conversations. I think as a society that we have gotten very far removed from the days before vaccines, where people lived with the worry of contracting terrible, terrible illnesses, and it's made us take medicine and what it can do for us for granted. We're kind of spoiled as a society. It's a good kind of spoiled, but we are. I doubt that anyone here or listening personally knows anyone that had polio or smallpox or the measles. You may know of a family member, or you may have heard of this great aunt or this person or somebody's neighbor or something, but that was from years ago, not today. That is the reason that there's an iron lung in the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. I saw it the last time that I was there. It's a reminder of something from our past. And vaccinations saved hundreds of thousands of lives during that time, and this newer one is even better. The mRNA technology that was used to develop the vaccination was underway for over 20 years prior to the coronavirus peeking its head around here, and it went through all the phases of testing protocols prior to that time. Vaccine research goes on all the time, and that research has brought this to us today. We're fortunate to live in a time where medical research has these capabilities and can respond so quickly to a need. We're very lucky that we have that. Are there risks? Well, yes, of course, there are risks. There are risks to anything you do medically. There are risks to the 2 Tylenol I took on the way over here tonight because of arthritis in my hands. You can sure believe that if there's a complication that you're going to hear, that's what you're going to hear about in the news and from the internet and from your friends and that kind of thing. There are risks to all healthcare procedures, but the risk of the vaccination is by far outweighed by the risk of contracting the virus, which is highly contagious, and for many, the outcome is dismal and has caused death in 24 citizens in this town. I'm afraid that as a community and as a nation, we've adopted a us versus them mentality, and it frankly makes me very sad. I've seen people bullied because of their decisions that they've made about their health care on both sides. And that's beyond my comprehension, frankly. Honestly, I don't understand it. We've lost our common sense, forgotten common courtesy and manners, and it's very disappointing to me. So, if you are unvaccinated, please wear a mask and take common sense steps to protect yourself. If you are around unvaccinated people, please wear a mask, and especially wear one if you are around those unable to be vaccinated for some health reason, or children who can't be vaccinated. As a town, throughout this entire time, we've been working very closely with Wake County, who has a responsibility for vaccine disbursement. Wendell had the first freestanding vaccine clinic in the county at our community center. We're very proud of that. It was needed, because we don't have a large chain drugstore here to help with that. And so we needed some help with that. We are still experiencing, in my opinion, some inequity in vaccine availability, and I have continued to focus on that. That's an unpleasant conversation, but I'm willing to have it. Right now, vaccines are available as close as Knightdale and Zebulon in the large drugstores and at the Eastern Regional Center in Zebulon. These towns are close, but still difficult for some to reach. So we have a population here that can't even get that far sometimes. And of course, if you would like, you can look on the Wake County website and find additional locations. So, I'm asking you to please consider discussing the pros and cons with your healthcare provider. That's the first thing. The second thing, please stop being unkind to one another. Just stop. It's ridiculous, and you're embarrassing yourselves. And even if you disagree with someone, you don't have to share that. All truths or your perception of those truths don't have to be told. Don't ridicule people who maybe don't share your opinion. We all have to take care, I remember my father telling me one time, and I think I've mentioned this before, that I had all I could do to take care of Jenna. And that's a big job. I agree. And I think we all have all we can do to take care of ourselves. And so if someone has made a decision that you don't agree with, it's really none of your business, and you need to leave them alone, no matter what it is. And I cannot urge you enough to please get vaccinated. And if you need a ride, I've carried some people to be vaccinated. I'm happy to drive you. I will not collect the $25 from Wake County. And I'm happy to take you to get vaccinated or help you get that arranged if you need it. We are going to go into closed session, and we have a motion for that, please. Commissioner Boyette.
Yes, Madam Mayor, motion to go into closed session and following within North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A, Section 5, to establish or to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating, 1, the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease, or 2, the amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract or proposed employment contract.
All right, so we have a motion to go into closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Water? I would love a bottle of water. I'm as partial.